So I have finished stitching my ends, so it has a nice little pocket, right? I have already stitched the little triangles to the seam. I've pulled them right side out, so first we're going to pull it right side out, and you should have two of these, okay? So if that's the one half, we've got this half, all right? So the first thing you're going to want to do is from the seam line, okay, from the seam line, it doesn't matter which side you do, not really, yeah, so from the seam line, you're going to measure 3 inches over. 3 inches over, and I'm marking it on the white so you can see it clearly. I'm going to make a little line going up and down right there, okay? So, and if you want to, you can also go ahead and make a little line so that you know where the 5/8 is. And then slide this over. And from that seam line, I'm going to mark 3 inches. Because that's where our strap is going to go. Okay? And just so I know where that stitch line happens, go ahead and mark where that strap is going to go. So then I'm going to go ahead and flip this one over. And I'm going to repeat that process. I'm going to mark 3 inches from the seam line. Okay? And then mark my line down. And then on this side, seam line, 3 inches out. Up it down. And then I'm marking my seam allowance so I know how far down. Okay? And I only do it on one side. Okay? Woohoo! So we're going to set this one aside for now. And we're going to set our straps on to this piece so that you, and I'm doing this so that you can see it. First thing you want to make sure you do is lay this flat, okay? Because what happens, I'm going to shorten this up just so you can see it, we're going to end up laying this here, and we're going to bring this around, but you want to make sure that it's not twisted. It should not look like that. It should look like this, okay? So this side's this way, then this side stays flat, stays flat, stays flat, so that this one also is there. So when it comes up, it won't be twisted, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is line up the cut edge here, and I actually like to do 2 pins. So I'm going to keep it far away for just a minute, and then I'll bring it in closer so you can see it a little closer. Okay, so one will go here, and I have the edge of this one is marked right there. Okay, so let me bring it down so you can see the next part a little bit easier. Okay, so I'm going to pull this in. So I am making sure that this is laying flat. Okay, stays flat. Stays flat. It does not twist. It can sit up on its end like that. Okay, but then it lays flat. Okay, so that when I lift it up, it's not going to be twisted. Then I'm going to line. I am going to line up this strap to that line toward the inside. Okay, so make sure you only pin through one layer, otherwise you're going to pin your body close. So you want, see, one layer, only one layer, okay? So now you're going to flip this over, and do the same thing on this side. And we're doing it on one of the bodies because we want to make sure we don't accidentally pin both straps to the same side. That would be really not good. Okay, so once again, I've got my strap flat. I'm going to lay this one right next to that line. Okay, my seam allowance goes all the way up to the edge. Pin it. Okay, and then taking this one, so if I'm holding it this way because it's been flat, I'm just going to swing it around. I'm going to swing it around this way and then put it on. So there we go. So we're going to line that up, and if this is a little uneven, just scoot it up so it's straight to the part that's the shorter side. You don't want to tilt this like this. It needs to be straight up and down. Okay? Now, what you're going to do for those who are hand sewing this on, okay, those of you who are hand sewing it on, the first thing you're going to want to do, the reason I have my mark of how deep it is, and you've probably marked both sides, and that's fine. I'm just going to make sure I can see it. All right. Help if I don't do it straight. Okay, so when you get ready to stitch this down, we are going to stitch it down just to the inside of that stitch line, okay? So that when we do the real stitching of putting the two layers together, you won't see that stitching. Okay? So I have my thread right here. I'm going to go ahead and stitch these two down. So continue using your back stitch. It'll make it stay, and you're actually going to want, make sure you're using single thread. Sorry, I'm just tying my knot. Okay. So we're just going to go in and stitch it just on the side toward the seam allowance, not on the line, just inside. Now I'm going to do a back stitch in that spot for a minute. And I'm doing like 3 stitches there because the edge of the straps always take the most force. I'm just going to back stitch it all the way across. And you might want your thimble. I kind of wish I had mine. Okay, and then make sure you tie your knot. Twice, twice. Pulling that needle, pushing the thread down. Go underneath once to make it stop, twice to make it lock. Okay, so that's my first row stitching. And I like to make sure that my strap is very well stabilized. So what I'm also going to do is run another row of stitching up here. So it kind of gives it a little bit more stability. There we go. Focus. Focus! There it goes. And I'm not going all the way to the edge, I'm going in a little bit. Just another row of stitching to ensure it stays. You won't see that stitching on the other side because it's into the seam allowance. See? Tie on one side, tie on the other, pull my needle. Tie a knot. Once, twice, twice. And clip that. So now you need to repeat that process on all the other sides that have the strap. Okay? So I'm going to do that on this one, and then you'll do the same thing on the other side. As for machine sewing, we're going to do that exact same thing, but we're going to do it on a sewing machine, so I'm going to show you that next. So I am sewing down my straps by machine. The first thing you want to do is you're going to line it up. So the 5/8 is here, right? Right? So we're going to scoot that in a little bit. So instead of 5/8, you want to go to the notch right before it, which should make it at about 1/2 inch. Once again, you can also mark your line on here, which makes it a lot easier. For your sake, I will mark that line. That line is here. Okay. So we don't want to go past that. So if that's the case, and my line would normally line up there, I'm going to scoot it just a little bit to the left so my needle does not land right on that mark. Okay? So I'm going to back up a little bit. So I want to go over the edge of that. Oops, I went too far. Pin. I'm going to backstitch it just a smidge more. Make sure it doesn't go anywhere. When I get to the end, I'm going to backstitch over that a couple times just to make sure it's locked in. Okay? Then I'm going to come out. I'm going to clip my thread. Go ahead and clip your tails because it will become a problem if you do not. That's for the beginning and the end. Now for the other side, see I've got a little bit of a thread loop right there. So remember we're doing 2 rows of stitching, so we're going to lay this one. First of all, make sure your strap is laying straight. That is always a helpful thing. We're going to make it so that our sewing machine, the presser foot edge, the inside of the presser foot edge is lined up to the edge of the fabric. Back stitch it. This is just to reinforce that this strap's not going to go anywhere. Okay, I'm going to pull that out. So that is one. That's one done. Oh, I forgot to rotate the other way. Sorry, guys. Make it a little easier to see. Let's do the other side, just to make sure you can see. And also, since this is by machine, it goes fairly quickly. Make sure everything is lined up. Make sure nothing is folded up underneath. Okay. So once again, I would line it up to the 5/8 normally. I'm going to pull mine back just a smidge. Okay, that's a little close to the pin. Let me take the pin out. This other pin out. Clip that. Get rid of those tails while you can. Don't accidentally clip your fabric. That was up. It's a whole other thing of learning you'd have. So what's going on under here? So some of the loops got a little bit caught. I've also got some fabric bits that are caught in there. So I'm just going to clip it up here. Should be able to pull it right out. Oh, see, got another one. That as well. Right. Clean it up as you go, or it can be problematic later. Okay, so now we're ready to do our second row of stitching. Lining it up. All right. Flip my threads. Move your tail. Oops. Come on. There we go. Go ahead and throw those away because they have a tendency to wander. So. Okay, so now we've got our straps on. Yay! The straps are on. So now we're going to put the 2 together and have them be married as friends. Okay? So I will see you in just a second over at the ironing board. And yes, we are going to put a little bit of heat, especially if you machine stitched, where we just stitched. Okay? See you in just a minute. So I have set this down, so I've made sure that this is all straight. I've checked to make sure that my straps are not twisted. They're twisted, you're going to have to redo them. And now I'm just putting a little bit of heat where I stitched, because remember the motto, if you stitch, you then have to press. Okay, and I'm noticing that this particular seam doesn't want to stay nice and flat, so I'm going to hit that up one more time. Okay, I'm just rotating it around. So, yeah, my strap is not flipped. It's not twisted. Okay, laying this flat. Make sure this is nice and straight. And I'm just Whoops. Makes it easier. Yes, you can do it from this side as well. It doesn't matter what side it is, just that it's straight when you press it. Okay? Alright. So, now this is ready to be attached.